The purpose of this presentation is to lower your anxiety about the idea of creating and managing a gradebook in Blackboard. It can be a little tricky, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm going to simplify this process for you. So the very first thing I want you to do is scroll down to the gradebook and find the gradebook. If you click on that, then the menu options will pop up. Click on Full Grade Center, and let's just give it a few seconds to load. And when you first come into Gradebook, there are some defaults that are set. And the very first thing you see is this gray bar going across. You need to understand that these are actually, you can't see it, but these are actually columns of information. And the very first thing I want to show you is that you have control over what you want to display. So these defaults drive me crazy, quite frankly, because it's just too much information before I actually hit the grades over here. You see, the grades are going to start loading over here, all these different columns. So availability, I don't really need to see that, right? I can just go ahead and see the chevron, and I can hide that column. And again, we're managing our gradebook. That's the purpose of this. So the first thing I want you to do is get rid of all the columns that you don't need. Last access, this will show you the last time your students came in that class. A lot of teachers like that one, so I'll leave it alone. I don't need their student ID. I can always bring it back if I need it. So I'm going to get rid of the student ID, and I don't need to see their username all the time either. Again, I'm going to show you in a minute how to bring these things back in case a student needs some information. Right? So I've decided to get rid of everything except last access, which, by the way, you can decide to get rid of that. The weighted total, when you see the word total, just think grade. So this is weighted grades and the final grades. Okay. The other thing I want you to notice is that every time I bring my cursor on top of the written statement here, the information about that column pops up right over here. So you see it popping up in bold as I move across. So again, these are columns. These are columns. So now I'm going to show you, let's say that you got rid of last access, but you think about it, you say, you know what, I actually do want to see that. Maybe not every day, but there's certain days maybe there's a student that says they've been in class and they can't seem to get any of their work done. You can actually check to see if in fact that's true. So the way that you do that, go to Manage, and you've got it, column organization. And I love this feature, manage column organization, because now I can actually decide what I want to show. And this will, as you add more columns, this will get longer and longer. But right now you can see what we've hidden. See how it reads hidden? Frozen means you can't change it, but hidden means you can. So I can, let's say I want to bring last access back. I can check this off, go down to show hide and show selected column, and now last access is showing that it's no longer hidden, and all I have to do is hit submit. The number one mistake faculty make is that they forget to hit the submit button. Okay, you have to hit submit, and when you do, it comes back. You can also move these around. So let's say that I wanted this to be in a different order. I can move these things around. We'll come back to this so you can see it a little bit more fluidly, but I'll move these two. Let's say I want to move weighted total and total grades around. I'm going to grab this and move it and exchange it. All I did was grab the chevron and I moved it up. This will become more important as you're setting up your columns. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit, and we're going to see if last access is now available for us. And it's back. See that? So that's the number one rule, making sure you have control over your columns. Now, next. The next thing is this. I want you to think about the old grade books from when we were all in high school. The teacher had the grade book, their names were on the left, and the different columns were on the right. This is exactly how this grade book is set up. It is set up to mimic the old traditional grade books. And also think about how we've always had columns of things, such as quizzes, tests, participation, assignments, homework. Those are categories of grades. So think about it. Before we actually put in assignments, we need to set up categories. So step one is to control your columns. Step two is to what? Manage your categories, or rather create your categories. So you go to Manage Categories, and if you notice, I'm going to actually show you. I'm going to take, we've already added some, so I'm going to delete the ones that were added. The way that you know these have been added, wherever you see an actual box, the faculty member has come in and added them. And these are important things, so I'm just going to show you how to add your own. Let me just take some of these out so I can show you how the teacher added them and kind of mimic what you're going to actually see. So really what you're going to see when you first come into a new course is that you're going to just have these default categories. Here they are, right? And let's say you want to add categories that are unique to your course. For example, let's say that you have labs. So you click Create Category and type in the word labs or lab, because that's a lab grade, right? It's going to come under lab grade. And there it is. You've added it. Say the next thing is that you're going to have quizzes. I saw tests, so I'm going to type in quizzes, because these are categories of the assignments that you're going to create in your class. The next create a category will be, let's say that you have homework. I can't remember if that was one or not, and that's okay. If we duplicated something, that's quite all right. If it's been duplicated, and I don't think it has, okay. And so we have, and let's say that you also use discussion boards. Remember, discussion boards can be used whether you teach online or not. And the last thing I'm going to add will be a paper or essays, okay, as a category. All right, so now that you have your categories set up that are unique to your class, don't forget, go ahead and click OK on the right-hand corner. And of course, what you're going to now do is grab your syllabus, because you're going to begin to set up your assignments. Now, some teachers like to do assignments for the entire semester, and some teachers like to just do them as they go. It really is up to you how you manage your gradebook. The key is they just need to be put in here at some point. So let's just go ahead and do a few. So let's kind of review what we've done. We just set up our categories, right? We went over column organization and we set up our categories. That's all we've done. Now we're going to go to create calculated columns, okay? We have these categories, and now we're going to actually set up the worth or the value of those categories. So what you want to do is click on weighted column, okay? And let's call this final grades. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to program the computer to identify your columns and put the weights on those activities. So you'll understand a little bit better as we go through. The first thing I want you to think about right here is just very important, how final grades will be displayed for your students. So you might want to show the score, what they received. Maybe it's a 70 out of 100, but always put the percentage. Never just put score. Make sure both display, because, for instance, and you should do this for all assignments, a student might see a 25 and think they failed, but what if the assignment was out of 30 points, right? So you want to show the score plus the percentage always, so there's no confusion. For example, they could see 100 and think they passed, but what if the assignment was 200 points? They just got a 50, you see? So that's why you always want to put score and percentage on all assignments. All right. So now what you're going to do, you're going to find the assignments that you have. So maybe one category assignments, and you have tests in this class. Bring them all over. I'm just clicking. You have lab work. Bring them all over. You have quizzes. You have homework. We have one essay. And remember, we had our discussion boards. So let's see how many categories. And then what you want to do is follow your syllabus. Everything that you are weighting in your course must adhere to the syllabus. And this will track your weight. So let's say my tests are worth 20%. My labs are worth 10%. My quizzes are worth 10%. My homework is worth 20%. Maybe I give a lot of homework that's meaningful. There's an essay that's worth 10%. My discussion board, just lost my, not sure what just happened. Let's go back. Nothing will stop us, huh? Let's go back in. Sorry about that. I had a power surge. I'm not going to repeat this. Let's just kind of go in. I'm going to make it really kind of simple for you. I'm highlighting everything now. Pull my assignments here. I'm going to highlight them and bring them over this way as a group. That's a little trick I just showed you. And let me bring the assignment back over and put my percentages back in. It's okay. Nothing will stop us, huh? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put my percentages in. Everything is going to eventually equal to 100%. That's what you're, and again, you're following your syllabus. That's important because if you do not follow the syllabus, then if there's a grade challenge, the student easily can win it because you have to follow whatever you said. So if you wrote down that tests were 30% of the grade, and we come out here and see that they're only 20%, and that caused the student to fail, that's an issue. So everything has to match with your categories, match your grade book, right? So everything matches whatever you wrote, and your syllabus aligns with what you put in your selected columns here, okay? Once you're done and all matches 100%, come down here, it'll say include this column in the grade center, yes. Show the column to the students, yes. Let's talk about running total. If you select yes, a running total only includes items that have grades or attempts. Selecting no includes all items in the calculation. So we're going to put no because notice before, this is a final grade. So final grades, if a running total only includes items that have grades in it. So that means that if you select yes, right, if a student skips something, it won't hurt them, right? So final grades, selecting no includes all items in the calculation using a value of 0 for something that's missing. That's why if a student didn't do an assignment, it will automatically load a 0, which is what you would have to do. So let's go ahead and hit submit for final grades. That's very important. Don't forget to always select no. If not, it'll give you a distorted view. So we just weighted the grades right here, as you can see, right? And you have two, and you might say, well, which is which? You can see that if I hover over this 100 points, come over here, let's look at it again, and I can get rid of this one so I won't get confused. Let me delete that column. So I have my right column. So now I have set up my grade book and I've set up my columns, right, for my grade book. So when I'm putting in information in my grade book, it will be based on those columns that I've set, nothing other than the columns that I've set up. So now I'm going to create a column. We're almost done. I'm going to create a column. And let's say that I'm creating a test. So I'm going to name the test. Avoid things, I mean, you can do test 1, but tell students what it is. So you're reminding them what test 1 was. Remember what I said, score and percentage. This is very important. So here's that category. This is the most important thing that you need to remember today. Remember we set up those categories of weights. If, for example, I were to call this a blog, I'm in trouble because that means that the grade's going to go in my grade book. I've selected a category that doesn't exist. I never selected blog. I said things were tests and quizzes. You remember the ones that we set up, okay? So I need to make sure I put this under the right category. My category is test because I've got a weight on that. The possible points, 100. And all your assignments are going to be set up the same way. Include, all these are defaults are correct, and I'm going to go ahead and click submit. So you're going to see this pop up in my gradebook. There's that first test right here. Remember, I can easily move this, and we're going to do this in a minute. I can move this by going into Manage Column Organization. Remember, I can always move this if you don't like where it's positioned. So let's do another one. Create column. And this one we're going to call a homework assignment. I can do this. But again, remind students what it is. So later on, maybe it's 3 weeks later, they can remember what homework this was on. Okay? So when you're saying, hey, you didn't do your homework assignment, you can say you didn't do your homework assignment on commas. That's important for you as well. Go ahead and make sure it's a percentage as well. Remember that little tip? Category, very important. My category needs to match what I said, homework, right? Very important step. Please don't skip this step. It can mess up your entire grade book. And hit submit. Uh-oh, I forgot my points. So let's say my assignment is worth 25 points. See, it's error proof. It won't let you mess up. So go ahead and hit submit. So if you notice, once you have set up, the hard work was when we set up our grade column. That was the hard work. Once you get into this phase of it, it's very easy. So all I'm doing is setting up assignments. Now, let's talk about how you can check them. When you hover over, I want you to look in this area. Once I hover over, it's going to populate right in the screen. But if I bring my cursor to homework, notice how it reads. Possible points, 25. It is in the proper category, homework, and I have labeled it homework. So you want to double check to make sure the points are correct and that the category is correct. Remember, if the category is wrong and you selected a category that doesn't exist, it won't give the students credit for the assignment. Or maybe you put it in the wrong category, and maybe like for example, it was a quiz, but you put it under test, and now the value is more, and it could damage the student's grade. So you want to really pay particular attention to how you code things. Look at test 1. Let's test it out. It says possible points 100. Category, the second column is category test, and it is a test. So that's what you want to do. And let's do one more just for safe measure. Create column. Label it, and this one I'm going to call a discussion board. Okay, and remember what we said earlier, our tip, score and percentage, you remember, and the category. What would happen if I did not select a category? The student doesn't get credit. Remember, if I select the wrong category, they don't get credit, or they get too much. Like if I call this one a test, and it's not, right? And tests are weighted 20%, incorrect. So I want to align it right. It is a discussion board, and I didn't select discussion. I actually crafted my own discussion boards. So you have to remember these kind of things. And 25 points. Go ahead and click submit. You want to make sure you're using your categories. Very important. And remember what I said at the end, always test to make sure it's correct. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to test it out. Possible points 25. It is a discussion board, and it is a discussion board on essay writing tips. So I set these 3 up and test these 3 to make sure they're in the right category and my point value is correct. Now, last thing is to show you how to get it in the order that you would like. Go to column organization. So as you're building your grade book, you'll see, if I scroll down, those items are beginning to fill up. And I can change the order. Maybe I want to put all of my total grades at the end, have my test 1 first, maybe my homework assignment first, really, the discussion board, and then the test. So I want to put them in the order in which I gave the assignments to my students. So maybe the homework was first, discussion board was second, and then the test. Okay? And I might say, I don't want all these grades in here. I'm going to minimize so I can highlight that one. And what did I show you earlier? I can hide that particular area. And I hit submit. And now it's lined up the way that I would like to see my grade book. See that? The last thing I want to show you really, really quick. Remember we set up final grades. If I click on this chevron, I can go into any of these and I can look at edit column information. If I click on edit column information, it will show me, it'll take me back to the original page where I created it, and I can make any changes. For example, score, maybe I missed that, to percentage. And here are my categories. I can double check my categories, right? If I need to make a change to anything, I can make a change. Maybe my tests were really supposed to be 25% and my assignments were supposed to be 20 and I made that error. I can fix it. But the last thing I want to show you is this. Remember, we created this category for final grades. A lot of people, because remember, final grades show students where they stand, and it can be confusing to them because remember, they get a 0 for items that they haven't completed. You can also do the same, set up another one, just like you've done here, and you can call it current average. Promise you, we're almost done. Current average. And in doing this, you do exactly the same thing as you did to set up the final grades, except you check off yes. And what that does, it only shows them what their average is on the activities or assignments that they've submitted to you in class. Okay? And so some teachers have 2 running columns. One will be the current average, and the other the weighted or final grade, okay? But it's really up to you how you would like to display. I just wanted to show you the difference. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any additional questions, we have tons of more videos, particularly through lynda.com, as well as through our online website and Blackboard tutorials. So again, I hope that you can get through the gradebook, and again, let us know if you have any additional questions.